Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week on the Cyclekart I want to try and get the Nosecone mould finished. See you in a minute. Okay, so it's time to make a start on putting the glass fibre on. I've stuck up one layer of gel coat because it's quite thick, and I decided that it wasn't really a major problem. So I've got 160 ml of resin in there, so that should be at 3%, about 5 millilitres of hardener, which we've got there. So we'll put that in, mix it all up. I've cut the cloth roughly to size for a first layer. Should probably have 2 layers of this. This is what they call a coupling coat of resin, and I think it joins the gel coat to a normal resin coat. Don't know what the difference is in composition, but we will see as we get on with it. And that really needs just putting on, stippling on. And if I can get both coats on, I will. A bit stuck for time, but we will see how we get on with it. Just going to get it impregnated first, so it goes a bit soft. Start to stick onto the fabric underneath, the gel coat underneath. Get all the air out. The important thing, I think, with this. Get into the corners. Also got a roller somewhere in amongst the stuff that came with the kit, which will squash it all down, get all the air out. It's the bits around the raised protrusions that will need a bit of care and work on, I think, more than anything. I'll get the main part in first anyway, and then worry about the twiddly bits in a minute. Right, I've just had to mix up another 50 or 60 mil, and I'm just done a little bit down the centre, like a second coat. So really one coat on something this size has taken about 200 millilitres of resin. So that's gives some idea. I'll let that go off. We'll do another quick coat on top of that, and then we can move on to the thicker chopped strand mat. This is like a fine 300, I think it is, grams per square metre mat that you put on immediately underneath the gel coat. So I think that's about right. Let it go off a bit now. Okay, so we've had 2 coats of the lightweight resin mat. I'm now going to put the second layer on, which is a 600 gram chopped strand mat. Cut it into smaller pieces so it's a bit more easy to get into the corners. This is basically just a reinforcement, I think, to get it all to hang together. But it's pretty much the same deal. Saturate the cloth and then make sure there's no air in it. Now the actual shell, I think, he's probably got enough resin on it now, but I'm just going to do a little bit of work around the perimeter where there'll be the join on the 2 moulds, just to beef that up a bit so that it can be bolted together consistently. I've sort of left it a bit hungry of cloth, so I'm just going to stick some pieces on there, and that should be plenty. I mean, bear in mind this is probably only going to make 2 or 3 noses. I have a colleague who's also building a 7 who wants one, and if we happen to crash it into anything we might need a second, but other than that I don't think we'll need a lot, but no reason not to make a reasonable job of it and do it properly as a learning exercise. This is the first time I've really done any glass fibre work other than car repairs, and things have moved on a lot in the intervening 30 or 40 years. So like most things that are useful, it's all about learning. Thinking ahead to the tail, I've got to decide quite what I want to do with that, because I can't see a huge point in going to all this exercise for a tail section. So I may well go with the route that others have taken of just doing the same as I did for the plug, and then just putting a thin skin on top and then just pulling all the plug out from underneath it, which saves quite a lot of work, which is unnecessary in the case of that, because it's not as if I'm going to be doing more than one, I don't think, of that. So we'll have a think about it. And in that case I don't think I'll be using anything like the chopped strand mat or anything, because it's a bit brutish and aggressive and thick and not easy to get a decent finish on. If I just put a couple of layers of the lighter mat, or indeed even the woven mat. I think that will probably get me a better, quicker route to a decent finish on the tail section. Okay, so that's got the back bit a bit more solid. Time to actually now turn it round and try and take this piece off, which should leave us with a smooth flat finish that we can wax up again and put another layer on to make the other half of the mould. I've had a bit of a tentative go, as you can see, and it's coming away okay. The difficulty really for me is how easy it will be to get the hot glue gun off the existing buck, because that is, I don't want to damage the surface if I can help it. But that has certainly come away well enough from the original, which bodes well for the mould coming out in the future. Now I want to try and get this off. Start at the bottom, I think, on this base. Let's see if we can't get it off without damaging the buck. So far so good. Yeah, I'm good with that. So that gives the gel coat finish that should be on the inside of the whole of the mould, which is satisfying. I've got to poke all the wax out now from the register points, clean up all around the edge, and then I'll just give this another re-wax, and I think I'll, as I said before, I'll put a piece of this polypropylene just across that bottom to protect anything from sticking to the original foam. I could just leave it and just knock glass over it, but I think it'll make a more rigid mould if it's solid all the way around. But we'll just clean these last bits off. But what I worried about was damage to the buck. There is a tiny bit of paint off there, but otherwise got a nice sharp join all the way down there. I'll probably just put a bit of wax onto that and just smooth it off. We can just take the wax off, get it out of the holes. Ready for reuse, I presume. It's a recyclable product, I suppose. Right, so I've cleaned it all up. I've put the bit of polypropylene or whatever on the bottom here to try and take some of the sting out of whether it bites or not and digs into the mould. Hopefully it should strip out okay. I'm not going to bother going all the way through everything I've done once already. You've seen it once. This is the only real difference, this front face that's now getting a coat of mould release. I'll just gel coat this do the same thing with all of the various layers of glass fibre as I did on the other half, and hopefully next time we'll come back to it and we can crack the mould open and see if we've actually succeeded in getting anywhere. Okay, so that's got us, I hope, the mould for the nose cone. We'll know better when it's all dried off and had a day or two to get settled, and I can then take it apart. I'll do that on a separate video when perhaps we start and gel coat that up and make a first cast off it. So I hope it was of interest. Look forward to seeing you next week. We'll be doing something different on the cart. I'll see you then. Bye.